But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have, we lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will.
A scene from Casablanca, of course. In 1943, the film won 3 Academy Awards, including the Oscar for Best Picture. Today, 75 years after its release, Casablanca is still considered a classic.
You must remember this.
On Warner Brothers' backlot in Burbank, on May 25th, 1942, the first day of shooting for the new film Casablanca, the production schedule called actors Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, and Dooley Wilson to the set at 9 a.m. to shoot a flashback scene set in Paris, where the romance between Rick and Ilsa began.
He's looking at you, kid.
75 years later, Casablanca has been screened more times in theaters and on television than any movie in history. At the Brattle Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts, it's still shown every Valentine's Day.
It's the most romantic, wonderful movie in the world.
If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
Casablanca's iconic moments remain part of our cultural vocabulary.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
Round up the usual suspects.
People have never even seen the movie. They quote the lines.
Noah Eisenberg, director of screen studies at the New School in New York, is author of the new book, We'll Always Have Casablanca.
To this day, it's probably the most widely taught screenplay in screenwriting course. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Released on Thanksgiving Day, 1942, Casablanca was a wartime romance, but it was also a subtly political movie from Warner Brothers, the same studio that had made the first overtly anti-Nazi film in 1939, Confessions of a Nazi Spy.
I am a Nazi spy.
Groucho Marx called Warner's the only studio with any guts.
I want the whole truth, no hedging about.
Warner's was, in fact, bucking an isolationist trend in the U.S.
Absolutely. There was fear within this very strong, vocal, isolationist faction in Congress that what was happening in Hollywood, and specifically under the auspices of Warner Brothers, was a threat to American peace.
I'd stick my neck out for nobody.
In Casablanca, Rick embodies that isolationism at first, even as fleeing refugees fill his Moroccan cafe. The scenes shot on Warner's backlot still feel strikingly urgent, perhaps because nearly all of the 75 actors in this film were immigrants themselves.
Rick, help me.
Be a fool, you can't get away.
Rick, hide me.
Peter Lorre came from Hungary. Paul Henreid from Austria.
But you see, Major Strasser, I'm a Czechoslovakian.
You were Czechoslovakian. Now you are a subject of the German Reich.
Even Conrad Veidt, who plays the Gestapo major, had been a silent film star in Germany, but fled his home country with his Jewish wife. The Jewish question is never addressed in the movie.
No.
But it's really kind of everywhere in the film.
It's latent. It percolates like a number of other things. It percolates beneath the surface.
Nobody else gave me a thrill, honey,
One of the few American-born actors in the film, Dooley Wilson plays Sam. The piano player in Rick's Cafe has no last name, but a pivotal role. In his own way, Sam is also a very bold character for his time.
Absolutely. Rick's best friend, his travel companion, his confidant, and that was really, really extraordinary.
Where is she? Have you seen her?
No, Mr. Richard, I can't find her. She checked out of the hotel.
In reviewing the film in 1943, the Amsterdam News, New York's African-American newspaper, said the movie is one every colored person should make it his business to see, since no picture has given as much sympathetic treatment and prominence to a Negro character.
Sing it, Sam.
You must remember this.
As performed by Wilson, As Time Goes By would become film's most enduring torch song.
The fundamental things apply as time goes
Johnny Depp's words, the national anthem for broken-hearted lovers. Sam's piano from Rick's Cafe sold at auction in 2014 for $3.4 million. Ironically, Dooley Wilson didn't actually play the piano. Humphrey Bogart, 42 when he took the part, was known for his tough guy characters. But Casablanca would transform him into a romantic lead and Warner Brothers' highest-paid actor. For Ingrid Bergman, it was also a breakout role.
But off-screen, Bergman and Bogart, they really didn't have much chemistry at all.
Yeah, what was it? I think Bergman often said, "I kissed him, but I never knew him."
That's a famous, famous quote, and it's a wonderful one. I think it says a lot.
Writers Julius and Philip Epstein and Howard Koch won an Oscar for their screenplay, but they had some help. Here's Looking at You, Kid was not in the script.
No. As far as we know, that was a line that Bogart liked, perhaps one that he used even off-screen. And to this day, it's attributable to him.
Is Looking at You, Kid.
Another memorable line was not in the original script. After shooting Wrapped, producer Hal Wallace was unhappy with the ending. 3 weeks later, in a memo, Wallace wrote 2 alternative last lines.
And he brought Bogart and Claude Rains back in to do voiceover in that last sequence that we see in the film.
They would choose the second one.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
It's one of the most famous lines in the history of motion pictures.
Amazing the legs this movie has had.
Yeah, no time like the present to rewatch it.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, when they made that film, they were actually making 5 other movies on the same lot at the same time. It was nothing special about it, but here we are all these years later. And as, as is often said, you can't see this movie enough times.
You can't. The classic of cinema.
Yeah, really is.